To look at him, you'd hardly accept the fact that Pepito is a political problem. But he is, and it's a situation perhaps quite unique in the history of civilization. The 6-year-old carries on his thin shoulders a terrible burden, but it's just as well he doesn't realize that he is at once the symbol and the image of a world he himself did not create. Pepito is a Cuban refugee. For him and his people, the flight to freedom from the tyranny of Fidel Castro has taken many forms. A homemade raft, fashioned by a desperate man, takes on an almost impossible journey.
Driving the crowds waiting at the makeshift refugee center inside. Hope turned to despair and then hysteria at the thought of what the weather could do to open boats loaded with refugees.
Says we could be on the brink of another mass migration crisis, and tonight they're urging federal and local governments to prepare.
First Detroit was murder city, then Atlanta, now Miami.
Well, in 1976, we investigated 104 murders.
The first 7 months of 1979 have been called the bloodiest in South Florida's history.
There were 573 total homicides in 1980.
1981 will go down as another record year for killings around greater Miami.
I think we're probably going to see in excess of 600 homicides by the end of the year.
For Fidel Castro, it was tantamount to an act of genocide. With one fell swoop, he rid Cuba of thousands and thousands of undesirables. He emptied his prisons. He cleared the bums off the streets of Havana. Murderers, thieves, perverts, prostitutes, the retarded, crippled, the winos, all were rounded up, sent to Mariel Harbor, and put aboard boats bound for Miami.
Time magazine crushed Miami.
The 9-page article inside focused primarily on Miami as the troubled center of drugs, crime, and refugees.
Well, Wendy, Martha, we are along Calle Ocho. Anybody who's ever been to Miami knows this is the heartbeat of Little Havana right here. And a lot of the people out here celebrating are milling around this famous Cuban restaurant, holding up signs as people who are driving by honk their horns. The mood here is festive. Most of the people out here are Cuban natives, most of them older men who have been waiting for this day for a long time.
Fidel Castro has stepped down in favor of his brother Raul, but so far no dramatic change in Cuba, much to the disappointment of Miami's exile community. Powerless to affect the Castro administration on the island, they have great power over Florida and U.S. politics. Where does this small community's supersized influence come from?
Now, prior to 1965, Cubans who came to the United States viewed themselves as temporary residents. They thought that within a matter of time, Castro would be overthrown and they would be able to return to their homeland. But with every year, that seemed less likely.
Man takes on an almost impossible journey. Rescued after being adrift for 10 days without food, his face parched by the sun, this man mustered a smile as he was being lifted to an ambulance. He smiled because he was on free soil.